Hello, everyone, and welcome to the dinner table. I am so glad to be back here. And man, we just had an amazing dinner. I have with me tonight my friend Chef Zelina Rodriguez and her daughter Emily Zoe. Thank you guys so much for coming.
We're
Thank
so
you for
excited.
having us.
We're so excited to be here. This is exciting.
This is our
Yeah.
first podcast.
Yeah. Is it your first podcast?
Definitely.
Wow. I feel famous.
We feel
I
famous.
know, right?
Definitely.
It's fun. It's fun. I was excited to have the opportunity to start just reaching out to people when the podcast shifted to this format. We're bringing on dinner guests. So I'm glad to have you guys here tonight. So I was curious about, I have been reaching out to a lot of people and asking questions about reading and new books to read. And I spend a lot of time with my hands working. And so I listen to a lot of books. I listen to podcasts. I listen to YouTube. I listen to all kinds of things. But I was curious. I just finished listening to a book called Midnight Library, which the reason I came across it was because I had reached out to some people and said, okay, tell me what books should I listen to? I'm looking for something fiction, but I want it to be, and my stuff is going to be like, I need it to be outdoor nature. I need it to be dystopian. I need it to be spiritual, something really philosophical, whatever. So they came up with this Midnight Library. And I thought that was, it turned out to be a really good book that made me really excited. It was very interesting because what it was about is a woman who chooses to take her life. And then when she, like, basically at the moment that that shift happens from like choosing to take her life, she goes into a library. And in the library, the very first book she opens up is the Book of Regrets.
Oh.
And then after that, she goes through opening up books of life. And any life can be a billion different ways because if you make any choice at any point, it's like that sliding door concept, right? And I've got about an hour left in it, but it was a really, really good book and I really enjoyed it. And I was curious if you guys had some suggestions of books. What are y'all reading right now? And do you read? Is that something you're into?
Okay, so I say I'm a huge reader. I love to read.
Uh-huh.
And recently, you just said you're listening to, I switched over to audiobooks because being a chef, I'm in the kitchen, I'm working with my hands. I don't have a lot of time to read. And what I found is audiobooks are amazing for me. So
Yeah.
I say I read all the time. I'm listening to a book.
Yeah.
So
Same thing to me.
one, and when you asked that, I meant to look up some of the books I have. So I have a huge library of Audible books.
Yeah.
But one that ties into dinner tonight is called Island of the Missing Trees.
Island of the Missing Trees. I need to
Yes.
write this down.
Let me make sure that that's the title.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and so it takes place in, God, it's been a minute since I read this book, but in Cyprus. It has to do with Cyprus and this family that transplanted a fig tree out of Cyprus.
Figs.
And
Yes.
figs, yes. And part of the story is told from the perspective of the fig tree. And it's an amazing book. It's really interesting. It's really different, but it has to do
It's
with
jumping to the top of my list.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so the Island of Missing Trees. So that's a really good one. And then anything I do is always fiction. And I do a lot of like really cheesy science fiction fiction.
Yeah.
My kids make fun of me. But every once in a
Constantly.
while I will have like a serious book. So to me, Island of the Missing Trees was really good. And I just did one called Lessons in Chemistry.
Okay.
And that was really good. It's not really outdoorsy, but the main focus is of like this really brilliant scientist in like the 50s and 60s, and she's a female, and so just really in that, just not getting respect as a woman,
Yeah.
and
sounds
really
good.
about feminism, and her relationship with her dog, which is the relationship with the dog is just amazing. So
That's some
a-
lessons in chemistry.
Yeah.
You and your pets and your relationships that you have with your pets.
Yeah, so those are two I would definitely recommend too
Okay.
that I recently did. So yeah, those are
I'm
really good.
excited about the fig concept. I'm feeling like called to the fig tree in this like more like deeper spiritual way. I've learned so much about the fig over the last few years, and I actually just finished reading a book. Actually reading a book. Called The Wild Garden, and he's chapter of this book that I actually want to read online somewhere. And it's about the fig tree. And if we think about it, the fig tree, for whatever we actually know about the biblical stories, right? The fig tree had to have been the tree that was there at the beginning because of the fig leaf, whatever, right? The stories that we have from it. But the fig tree's been with us, and it's resilient. And this year, watching the fig trees do well, it was a freeze and then rain, and our fig trees are just massive, beautiful trees. I've also learned that they're resilient.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're resilient with our hurricanes. They're resilient. And I've also learned that when you plant fennel underneath your fig trees, you actually have better tasting figs.
Oh, interesting.
And so this book just taught me some really fun stuff. So I'm glad you brought up that. And that book will go to the very top of my list because it sounds immediately like something I would be into.
And you can tell that the author really did a lot of research about figs and growing fig trees and just really the dynamic of the fig tree telling this story it's really great. It's a great read.
Well, and so the fig is actually a flower that doesn't actually flower. So the fig is not really a fruit. It's actually a flower. Okay. And did you know that hornets actually lay their eggs inside the figs? So that's a thing that tends to scare people away from figs. But hornets lay their eggs inside a fig. And there's a whole like YouTube video that you can watch about like what actually happens. And there's a copacetic relationship or a parasitic relationship between the fig and the hornet.
I learned that from you the first time I came out to the farm. You told me all about that. Or you were telling some other ladies and I was just kind of eavesdropping. But I learned that from you. So interesting.
So Emily, you have any great books you need us to know about?
I unfortunately never learned how to read. So no, I don't have any books to add to the conversation.
You're so Gen Z.
I use my phone for everything. I don't.
I also just finished two books by Daniel Quinn one of them is called Ishmael and the second one is called The Story of Bee. And they're extremely valuable for the conversation about the number of people on the planet, what we're doing on the planet, agriculture, our spiritual, religious, like coding related to all that. And what I'm planning to do and this is what I thought about even that book, The Wild Garden, like what I want to do is a subscriber podcast, a special like dessert episode or something like that. And I've got this gal that I wanted to talk to about those two books because they're so meaty when it comes to the philosophical, like spiritual stuff we're dealing with, the reality of what 8 billion people on this planet is doing to this planet. I have been doing this diet over the last, 120 days, or we've been talking about it for weeks, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the reintroduction process. I did reintroduce shishito peppers because I have a super duper, I love peppers so much. I'm a huge fan of shishitos, and my shishitos are just beautiful coming out of the garden this year. I have so many of them. So I went ahead and added those to my eggs. And then I had a grape cherry tomato today. I just like popped it and ate it. But I will tell you honestly, a little while ago, I had a migraine, like the little aura migraine thing happened. So now I'm like, I don't even know anymore. But I also think that just the last few weeks dealing with another level of stress and kind of managing that, like just give myself a break and just keep like working through it. But it was so nice to pop that little grape tomato in my mouth today and just be like, and just have it. And it was so delicious. Brad's Atomic. They're like these crazy, they look like they're tie-dyed, crazy colored,
I love those.
grapes. So I'm also doing a class, everybody, tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. here at the farm. It's Food is Medicine, meal planning, cooking class. I talked to you guys about a few of the things we're going to try out tonight. You guys got to taste my tzatziki with the chips. I give that to everybody.
So
We're going to do that. We're going to make a smoothie. We're going to make a smoothie. And then we're also going to give the chicken cacciatore a try. And we're going to talk about all the things that, we talked about tonight about reaching satisfaction, traveling, keeping things on budget and stuff like that. So if you guys have any interest, the class is tomorrow. So if you want to come and be involved in it, you're going to have to message me right away and let me know you're coming and we'll get it settled out and I'll give you more details about that.
The tzatziki makes it worth it because that stuff was amazing.
So
learning to make that is good.
I'm glad. I talk about that on every podcast every week because it's like my dessert, or it's like my little snack that I bring out while we're cooking,
your little comfort.
But I want to get to tonight's meal because having you guys here and it's funny because it wasn't like I was trying to be super fancy about it, but I had goat steak in the freezer from the farmer. He had suggested Turkey Hollow, Ryan Keller. He had suggested that I get some goat steak. I went over to his booth and wanted to get a sirloin, and I was so excited about how I could cook my own sirloin. And he was like, "Oh, I don't have any sirloin right now, but try this goat steak." And so I was like, "Okay." Well, then I was nervous about it. So I had it in the freezer, but I was like, "Okay, a chef is coming. So I'm going to pull out the goat steak
Let's
now."
get fancy.
Yeah, exactly. And so then, us talking out, trying to, make this all work out. I was like, okay, well, what can we make with the goat steak? And I have still pulling quite a bit of root vegetables out of the garden, just kind of the
Just great.
last of those. So I pulled out the carrots, the turnips, broccoli, cauliflower. One little head of each of those were super small leeks. I'm still pulling those out of the garden. So I had all
And
of
the
this.
radishes. The
Yes,
radishes look
and the
great.
radishes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazingly,
So I
yeah.
pulled all that stuff out and then got the stuff together to make a super easy salad. And then when you guys got here, I was like, okay, I'm putting you in charge. I need your help with that. Last minute, I also, and I want to dig more into all of this, but I also just decided I've got all these figs coming off of the fig tree. I mean, I'm talking about like 5 to 10 pounds of figs a day for like the last 2 weeks. I mean,
Wow.
it's been a lot, like it's been like ongoing. And I still have more. There's
Yeah.
still plenty more out there. And I was like, I have so much fresh, we've got to use this. So I looked up a recipe to see if there was a dessert that we can make. And I pulled out this recipe of a sushi cocoa fig. Basically, we made sushi cocoa fig. So you walk in the door, they're first out here to the farm, right? And I'm like, okay, here are my recipes. What do I do with all this stuff? And I let you just guide me. And I loved it. I loved the whole way about everything. I loved all the suggestions you made. So tell us a little bit. First, tell us about the goat and how you prepared the goat and the suggestions that you have for preparing that type of meat or any type of meat.
I was excited to cook a goat steak because honestly, that's the first time I've ever cooked goat. I've cooked a lot of lamb, I've cooked a lot of beef, but I've never actually cooked goat. So I was like, okay, well, let me think about it, and just from a chef way and going back to technique. So I'm a technique trained chef.
Yeah.
So I always fall back to that technique. And you'd pulled up a recipe that said to get your pan to a medium high heat and then cook it for a certain amount of time. And I thought, well, for me, such a small piece of steak, I need to sear it hard and fast on a high and then let it rest.
Yeah.
And so I kind of said, okay, well, then rather than a medium high heat, I want to get the pan kind of screaming
Super
hot.
Yeah. Using a
Season
cast
it,
iron still this
cast
time. Yep.
iron, yeah. So I decided to just season it with any seasonings that you could use, keeping with the paleo. So we just did a simple paleo seasoning, a garlic, and a salt. Just season both sides. And then I think your recipe said to use a little bit of oil. So what I did is I trimmed some of the fat off of the lamb or the goat, and I rendered out the oil from the goat because lamb and goat can be a little fatty.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and anytime I'm doing anything like chicken or beef or even pork that have a lot of fat, I will use the fat of that protein to actually sear. So I will take like the chicken skin, I'll render out some of that fat and then I'll sear the chicken in it. Or I'll do that with beef or I'll do that with pork. So I did the same thing. So I seasoned the goat steaks. And when we're saying goat steaks, they weren't a big, huge, there were
real
several
small.
little pieces. So I just let them sit for a second. I trimmed up some of the fat. I let it render out. Then I got that fat screaming hot. And since it was an animal fat, you're able to do that without letting it really burn.
Okay.
So I got it really, really hot. And then I just seared it on each side. And I did 2 minutes on each side and get a nice golden brown color, and then just took them out of the pan and let them rest.
And the whole time you were doing that, you were teaching me and showing me and talking me through it. And I really appreciated that because that's part of what makes this so much easier for me is to learn how to do it. But to have like people that are coming over, and especially when I can get a chef to come over here and then, okay, take this goat meat that I'm basically scared of at this point and like tell me how to cook it and show me how to cook it. So thank you for sharing all of that stuff with us. So,
well, you're welcome. But that's part of like my philosophy. I love like when I'm doing things, talking about I just like to hear myself talk. So,
me too, clearly.
So I like talking about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and showing people that, they can do it also.
Because I had pulled up this sushi, cocoa, fig dessert thing, which we started doing that first
First,
because, of
yeah.
course, you don't want to cook your meat till the last thing, right?
Right.
So we started doing that first, and since that created the fig, you said I want to make the fig all the way go all the way through the
Yeah.
recipe, and so then you added that in,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I really love to take elements anytime I'm doing a coursed out meal. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know this isn't technically like a coursed out meal, but anyway I will take an element and I will put it throughout the meal.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm doing a 7-course dinner. I've done 7, 8-course dinners where I've made eggs part
Uh-huh.
of each
Yeah.
course. You don't necessarily get the egg in each course or taste the egg, but there's egg
Egg and everything.
incorporated in every course in some way, or Parmesan cheese, even in the dessert. And I'll take a savory
Uh-huh.
and I'll even incorporate it into the dessert in some way. So we started with the dessert, the figs, and the figs are gorgeous. They're
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm taking some figs home tonight.
Yes.
Like I'm
Yes.
gonna have some at the restaurant next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I said, okay, well we're starting with dessert, and we'd sliced up some figs, we had some whole figs, and then we took some really ripe, unripened,
Yeah. I went out and
green
got some
fig.
green figs.
Yes,
Yeah. Mhm.
and I'd kind of chopped those up, and then I decided not to use them in the dessert.
Mhm.
And then I thought, okay, well we have these different figs. How can we incorporate fig into every
Right.
aspect of this meal? So I'd seared off the steaks. They were resting, and then I still had a little bit of that goat fat in the
Mhm.
pan
Mhm.
and basically the juices from cooking those goat steaks.
Mhm.
And so I thought, you know what, I have this nice little pile of figs that we didn't end up
Mhm.
using for the
Mhm.
dessert. So I said, I'm going to sear those in the goat fat. So
Yeah.
I got my pan hot again, and I took those sliced figs and I kind of just threw them into the oil, to the fat,
Yeah.
and I just let them sear and then just kind of caramelize and break down, and just kind of mashed them with a spatula and just put
Okay, so I was trying to think back. You and I think, met with Grow Local, maybe like cooking demonstrations, something like that, or maybe even the cook off at the wine festival. Do you remember?
I remember, yeah, so I was a part of the Texas Chefs Association,
Yeah.
and that's around the time that you had the chefs coming out weekly
Uh-huh.
to do cooking demonstrations.
Yeah.
So I remember just being so excited because I love doing demonstrations, I love doing teaching, I
Uh-huh.
love doing that part of thing. And then so we did that, and then I remember we did a competition,
Yeah,
didn't we?
that was at the wine event that here is locally, CC
Yeah.
wine event. There was a cook-off demonstration because I remember that's where I really remember getting to know y'all
Yeah.
at, you and Dana at. And but yeah, the idea always at the farmers market was come and use whatever's local and just
Yes.
teach people how to use some of this stuff. So how do we encourage people to purchase eggplant, or
Yes.
okra, or some of the stuff that might be a little bit more challenging to get people to purchase and try. Cucumbers was always one of the things that, do you happen to remember any of the things you ever got a chance to try out?
I remember being so excited about just kind of having an idea of a plan and
Mhm.
putting just a little bit together, but seeing like, okay, I'm going to go to the farmer's market and I'm going to find whatever they have
Whatever they have, yeah.
really abundant,
Yeah.
and I'm going to take that and I'm going to incorporate it into to whatever I've kind
That's
of
the best way to do it.
prepped.
Yeah.
So I would pre-prep things that I knew if I found carrots I could use or something like that. And
Right.
so I remember one time I did a fried rice,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then I
yeah,
just
yeah.
I just found some vegetables, and
That's
so
a
I
good one.
pre-cooked the rice, and then
Uh-huh.
I found vegetables and just sautéed them and then threw in the pre-cooked rice, which is always great with anything, vegetables
Yeah.
and rice.
Yeah. Yeah,
And so I
exactly.
think that was one of the ones that I remember the most. But since then, I've taken and just because I'm like a super competitive person, I
Uh-huh.
love challenges and things like that.
Uh-huh.
Dana and I, my partner,
Uh-huh.
who's also a chef, which is great,
Yeah.
because he can understand my madness just a little bit. I'll do like a 3 ingredient challenge, and
Uh-huh.
that's just literally us going to the farmer's market, forcing us to
Yes.
buy 3 ingredients and go home and cook them for dinner.
Yeah.
So we do that when we go to we haven't done it in a little bit, but when we go to the farmer's market, I just call it the 3 ingredient challenge, and we have to pick 3 ingredients and then go home and figure out some way to turn that into dinner.
I love
So
that.
we love that for the Wednesday night, but yeah,
I think it sounds like you guys are going to be excellent new investment larder restaurant
oh
for my products that I'm going to bring out. We talked about that tonight. That
yeah,
you guys are opening up a new restaurant though. So
we are.
tell me a little bit about that already. I just want to know more about that.
Okay, so super excited and I get a little emotional thinking about it. So, talking about my boyfriend, being a chef, I am in a partnership company. We are
Uh-huh.
called USS Chefs. And
Okay.
just a little bit about us is so it's a husband and wife, 80 and Fernando Cardenas,
Mhm.
and then myself and Dana.
Mhm.
And so Dana and I used to be saltwater chefs.
Okay,
So
right. Yeah.
we had a little company, little catering company. We just did private chef things called Saltwater Chefs. She is an amazing pastry chef and he is an amazing bread chef. Like they're an amazing team as well. And so they were two sweet chefs and
Mhm.
they used to have a company doing pastries and breads and things
Uh-huh.
like that. So when we decided to combine our businesses, we united the sweet and salty chefs, and
Mhm.
that's where we get our name, the USS Chefs.
Nice.
So
Sweet and salty chefs.
yeah,
Yeah.
United Sweet and Salty.
Yeah.
So, and I am salty and she's definitely sweet. So it really, really fits. And then so we started a catering company about a year and a half ago together. And we were cooking out of the International Seaman Center. So we rented that kitchen, and it really was just a stepping stone for us to be able to develop a following, a client base,
Yeah.
and to
I
just
went and
really,
ate there.
yeah,
Yeah.
just to really get our name out there.
Yeah.
And now we've decided to take the undertaking of the USS Chefs is opening a restaurant,
Uh-huh.
and we are keeping with our nautical theme,
Uh-huh.
and we are going to be called the Galley Bistro and Bake Shop.
Ooh,
So
nice.
it's the galley of a
Uh-huh.
ship,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and we've built this amazing table, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute. But I'm calling it our captain's table. Come sit at our captain's
I
table,
love that
and
idea
then
so
just
much.
and so the captain's table has such a triple use of things that we're going to use this table for. But come
Uh-huh.
to our captain's table, and
Yeah.
we're so excited. And when you told me about the larder,
Yeah.
it's amazing because what we are is we are a fresh, and I'm not saying a farm fresh
Uh-huh.
company,
Right, right.
but
I get it.
everything we do is daily.
Yeah.
We don't bring in a lot of bulk. We're shopping in the
Mhm.
morning,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, a lot of times we're shopping at HEB or
Mhm.
whatever,
Right, right, right. Yeah.
but we bring in fresh
Fresh
product,
prepared
and
every
everything
day.
is
Yeah.
scratch made. My
Yeah.
sauces are scratch made. All of our pastries are scratch made. Everything we do is
Uh-huh.
fresh, scratch made, and we know. And when I invited you to come eat that one time,
Mhm.
you were like, "Well, my diet." But the fact that we're doing everything from scratch, I know what's in everything.
Yeah.
I know that if somebody asks me, "Oh, is this gluten free?" I can tell you if it's gluten
Right.
free. I can
Right.
tell you if it's carb heavy. I can tell you all of those things because we know every ingredient that's going into everything we're doing. So
Yeah.
I don't say, we're vegan cooks or we're gluten free cooks or whatever. I can do
But if
all of it.
somebody comes and asks, I mean, this is a big deal. If somebody comes, like, I can't go out to eat at most restaurants unless I know the chef, or it's the type of restaurant where I could say, hey, I need something special. Like, I'm not trying to be really difficult, but can you make me a steak without putting anything but salt on it? And then
Yep.
can you make me some squash on the side? Like, that's the kind of thing where I need to be able to go, and knowing chefs are willing to do that kind of stuff is a big deal. And I try really hard not to hit
Yeah.
the restaurant right in the middle of the busiest part of their day when
Mhm.
it's like throwing them completely off. But at the same token, if like my whole family wants to go out to dinner, then I have to figure out how to get a salad that doesn't have a dressing on it that I
Right.
can't eat,
Yeah.
or anything that I can't eat. So it's good for people to know, especially people that listen to this podcast, because a lot of the guests that list, a lot of the people that show up for the dinner table to hear this, they're listening because of the type of diet and the things that we talk about on this
Right.
podcast. And knowing, and this is an important thing I wanted to talk to you about, is knowing how to find the best ingredients, because it's not just about farm to table. Now, farm to
Right.
table is important and it's good to find, and we're looking for special diet stuff. But when you're talking about making fresh from scratch things, how is it about finding the good ingredients, the best ingredients in town? Talk about that.
My daughter, like, she lives in California and they
Yeah.
have like the most amazing farmers markets. You can get anything and everything. So sometimes it's a little hard to find like those specialty things in town, but for the most part, HEB has a great
Yeah.
produce department. I
Yeah.
mean, their produce department is amazing. And so is like Sprouts. The organic, I can definitely find all of that.
Mhm.
So I really love
And you guys are going to be close to your locations, close to that Boari.
Yes, we're basically across the street from
Yeah.
them. I can walk over.
And so you can get your meats and stuff like that from them?
Oh, we definitely do. We get a
Yeah.
lot of our meats from him. We make a burger, and we've been told we have the best burger in town by people who serve burgers in town. They're like,
Nice.
this burger's better than my burger. I'm like, yeah, because it's fresh. And we're bringing in fresh Boari meat, and we're making our buns from scratch. Like, we make all of it from scratch. But getting the produce and getting all the things and really just starting with whole foods,
Right.
and not the processed. And I can tell you what's in the bread, and our bread's not going to last shelf stable for 2 weeks because
You
we're
guys
making it
make
fresh.
your own bread? Yes,
Oh,
because
yeah.
you've got the chefs that
we
are
make
doing
our
the
own bread.
pastries. Yeah.
And-
Okay, good.
And then going back to that too is we do a lot of vegan cooking and vegetarian cooking.
Yeah.
And not just because I'm trying to cater to vegans, but if you and your best friend come in and she's a vegan and you're not, I will serve you the same plate. It'll look almost exactly the same, but one will be vegan and one won't.
Nice.
And I just really try to reimagine food so that that vegan person who's not necessarily going to a vegan restaurant doesn't have to just get a salad.
Right.
Like every dish that I make, I can do like a vegan version of it, or a
That's
vegetarian
such a huge
version
deal
of it,
in Corpus
or a
Christi, man.
gluten-free version of it.
It's
Like, yeah. So
And you guys, okay, so Emily, you live in LA.
I do.
And how do you feel about being in Corpus Christi trying to find food? Like,
So I'm actually here in LA. I've been here for a month. This is
you've been in Corpus Christi for a month?
I've been here for a month, and I'm actually designing the restaurant. So I have a design career back in LA. But I, back at home, am an incredibly clean eater. My mom would maybe say picky, but I am a very clean eater. I just don't feel good. Like physically, I don't feel good. I stress when I eat something that's, not a part of my daily routine. Like I go to the farmer's market, I get all of my produce from there. And so I'm super clean. My mother's cooking is the only reason why I've been able to be here for so long, because I'm like,
she cooks for you. Yeah.
She cooks for me.
Yeah.
That's my payment. But I'm like, I need to have like something fresh available. And it's been a challenge.
You told me when you
It's been a
first got here
challenge,
that
yeah.
you were going to the farmer's market every time you're here, though.
Oh, but the Corpus Farmers Market on Wednesday has been like the thing I look forward to.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Like once a week. I mean, we went last night.
Yeah.
And
I
I
was there
love
too.
lemon shakers. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. We love lemon shakers. We love the craft that they do. All of the vendors. We got some popcorn. I mean, it was just amazing. It was just like all of the produce vendors were super. I mean, they were
You
great.
love it.
Yeah, I loved it.
But yeah, the LA farmers markets are just massive, right? They have so much stuff.
And there's literally one every single day of the week.
Yeah.
When I go to the one on Wednesday when I take my son to school, and I'm there, I get grocery stuff throughout the week, but then we go on Sunday, and that's the one that he gets to run around at, and we like we get a pastry and I get a coffee. And so there is like a farmer's market every day of the week, but they're all super different, and it's just really great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that farmers market, the Wednesday one that you're talking about, that was my work for years. And so now it's nice to be able to be back out here at the farm, just focusing on growing the food. And the investment larder that we've been talking about, I wanted to get that. I'm excited to be able to work with your restaurant. And then we even talked a little bit about rabbit, and I'd loved you telling me about the French style of cooking, and just where your background of cooking and culinary education and stuff like that has come from. And
I went to Le Cordon Bleu in Austin, so it's a French technique school basically. And so when people ask me, well, what's your style of cooking? What do you do the most? I don't have one particular style, and I have like more just technique driven. So you give me something and I'm just going to figure out which French technique to use to cook that. So when people ask us like, what is the galley bistro? What is it? Mexican food? Is it Italian food? Is it French food? No, it's none of those things. It's a little bit of everything. So I love just using the technique and showcasing different things with different techniques. So we will have a little bit of Italian food. We'll have a little, I say we're a little French inspired. So it's not
Okay.
it's not a French restaurant in any way, but we will be French inspired.
Yeah.
And so we're going to carry on the model that we did at the Siemens Center, where every day is a different menu item.
Yeah.
So we do a lunch feature, and so we have a little schedule I go by. So Mondays are comfort food. So that's on Mondays where you can get the chicken fried steak, the meatloaf, the mashed potatoes, that kind of thing is Mondays. Tuesdays is Tex-Mex. So I'll do a little Tex-Mex, and everything I do just kind of has a little spin to it. So it's not your classic Tex-Mex that you're going to get at the Jalisco down the street. It's going to be my own little version of a Tex-Mex enchilada or a taco or something.
You made cucumber soup when I was there one time.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things in the whole world to eat, cucumber soup. Yeah.
If I can just say something that my mom, I feel, is really great at is she is very like loyal to whatever season we're in. And she's very, very good at cooking for the seasons. And none of her food is really like super heavy. So you say like Italian food one day or like Tex-Mex one day. I go into so many restaurants and I leave just feeling super
It's
heavy.
light and fresh though,
She's
and seasonal.
good
Yeah.
at doing things seasonally and also like not just like totally ridiculous portions.
And,
I mean, it's
and
just
just
very
incorporating a lot of vegetables.
Yeah.
I incorporate vegetables into things that people don't even. People are like, "There's vegetables in this." Like,
Yes.
like my marinara. My marinara sauce. I started from scratch, but it has celery, it has onions, it has carrots, it has garlic, it has all of these fresh things that I cook in my sauce. So I'm sneaking vegetables into things.
Yes.
I make macaroni and cheese. I sneak carrots into that.
Last night we had a picadillo for dinner, and I was like, I don't
love
really like
picadillo.
potatoes, but she made it with zucchini and onions, and there was no potatoes, and it was just meat, and it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Because so I have to say this: you have a daily
lunch feature.
Yeah. When you say Italian, like Asian, they're super inspired by that. But inspired. She takes her own, she turns it into her own thing. And
love that.
Just like an influence.
Yeah.
But it's definitely her style.
Yeah, Asian influenced.
Yeah.
And when I say Asian, like that's anything. Like I mean, that's the day I'll do
You're
a
not
curry.
gonna like walk in and get
curry.
a lo mein.
Yeah.
It's like it's not.
I love to do curry.
Yes.
Vegetable curry.
So exciting. Yeah. That's great. So that makes me really excited to be able to see what you can pull off. Like you were talking about doing a Blackboard special, and I'm like seeing because that's one of the things I love about partnering with chefs that really get this investment ladder concept, where it's like you're gonna just have to work with what I get, because your investment is investing in the farm financially, but it's also investing in the early infrastructure days of a farm.
Right.
In order for me to be able to get to the point where, okay, I could show up at a farmer's market, or I could deliver more produce to restaurants that only want tomatoes, or that only want, like, I might get there in several years, but in the meantime, it takes me partnering with restaurants. But what I love most about that is seeing what they come up with.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it takes a good chef to do that.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of freedom. The galley will have a lot of freedom.
Yeah,
where
for sure.
Their customers already know, your base already knows, oh, well, this is what we're going to do. And they give her a lot of creative freedom. And so that's just something that really sets at least you guys apart from somebody else that has like a set menu that requires a lot of tomatoes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, so we're a catering company primarily, right? We're a catering company first. And so people ask me, well, what's your catering menu? I don't have a catering menu. We are completely custom menu. So you tell me, oh, I'm going to have a wedding and my theme is roses. I'm going to design a menu that's based around your theme. Last night we catered an event, and it was something for daughters and something, and it was flowers. And so like I did salmon toast points, but I rolled the salmon to look like little flowers, and I incorporated
and a little fresh piece of dill for the leaves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so,
and then so I just really am thoughtful with the different the seasons, the theme, the color, all of those things. I really think about them in all of my food.
I'm excited. You're going to love it because I'm just sitting here going like edible flowers. You need edible flowers.
Definitely
Like,
need
I
edible
mean, all
flowers.
of the fun things that can come off the farm. And what part of what makes it a huge, easier way to work with chefs is to be able to know, like, we're not trying to match each other. Like, oh, let me text you and let me tell you what I have and whatever. It's like, okay, here it is. Now here's your masterpiece. And you were talking about the 3-ingredient cooking challenge that you're doing. Like, I could see you guys having the 3-ingredient farm to table special that people know to come to the restaurant on that day
and
for.
your following will come.
Oh, of course, 100%.
Yeah, it's like a very collaborative effort.
Yeah,
and I
for
really
sure.
don't think there's anything else like that in the city.
I don't think so. And part of our philosophy and culture with our company in general is really just enhancing the culinary scene of Corpus.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
We are Corpus Christi is a destination city, right?
Yes,
People come to the sparkling city by the sea.
Yes.
But do people come for the food?
No.
No, not at all. I mean, and you can get your typical standard fried fish and fried seafood and everything everywhere you go. But are you getting like a real taste of Corpus? Are you getting a real taste of food?
I don't even think when you get your fried, I mean, if you go to Snoopy's, maybe I'll be like, okay, you're getting like, but even Water Street anymore, it's like, it's not the same as it used to be even. But yeah, you're right. Like, it's hard to find that like special, the things. So I think I'm for it. I mean, that my whole like last decade of my life has been trying to enhance the culinary experience of Corpus Christi
and that's
get
what
us
we're
good
about.
ingredients around here. So
and I love collaborating with people like you who are excited about food and really want to see. So I love working with other chefs, and I bring in other chefs, other cooks. Like, I have a really great relationship with one of the food trucks in town, Lowly Streetery. She's amazing.
Great. She buys stuff from me too.
Yeah. And she's at the farmers market every Wednesday. So I bring her in and I work with her, and I really just try to encourage other chefs, because the more chefs we have, the more restaurants we have, the better it is for the whole city.
That's right.
Like, people are like, oh, it's competition. No, it's not competition. It is like collaboration. There's a lot of people that eat in this town. You know what I mean? It's not like fight. For me, it's not fighting like, oh, this restaurant is better than that restaurant. I'm like, the more food there is in town, the better the food is.
Yeah.
Everybody benefits.
Everybody benefits.
So
rising tide raises all. That's the story of my
Exactly.
life. I'm like
Yes.
teaching that to the world.
I'm trying.
Rising tide
Me
raises
too.
all.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. I want you to tell me exactly how to find you today online if somebody wants to find you and your business and what you're
Okay.
selling or your private chef stuff. And then what's the address? I know the restaurant's not open yet,
Okay.
but like give us a shot in the dark of like about when we're going to see like a soft opening and the address.
Okay. So soft opening is such a sore subject, because we had hoped to do Memorial Day soft opening. But with delays, if anybody's done any type of construction or build, they know.
Especially in this world, in this time period. Yeah.
So we are delayed because of restaurant equipment, but we hope within about a week to do a soft opening.
Okay.
So we will be located the Galley Bistro and Bake Shop at 924 Staples. And that's at the corner of Staples and Hancock. And we're basically across the street from Barari. So anybody that knows Barari Meat Market, we're practically across the street from them.
You're
so
talking to the right crowd of people for this story.
Awesome. So 924 Staples, you can find us, and we will have more information on our website as far as the opening at USS Chefs LLC.com.
USSChefsLLC.com.
Yeah. That's our
Awesome.
website.
And if
I'm
you can't
terrible.
find them there, Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook,
There you
USS
go.
Chefs.
Good.
And I'll post something more and try to. I'll maybe you can tag me or something.
Yes,
I'm
I
the
will.
worst at
She is the
social.
worst.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
So I was doing a radio interview, and they're like, "Okay, what's your phone number to call you?" And I was like,
I don't know.
I could not think of it. I gave out my personal phone number, and my boyfriend was
Live
listening
radio.
on live radio. He's like, "Don't do it. Don't. I know she's gonna do it." And I gave out my personal phone.
Yeah,
Very
just
good.
give her a call and she can give you an even more confusing way to find the website.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Definitely.
All right. I love you guys, and I'm so thankful for you being here. Last but not least, we have that one last question, the
Okay.
random question of the week. If you could only pick one holiday to celebrate each year, which holiday would it be?
For me, it's Easter.
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 What do you love most about Easter?
I love spring. I
Yeah.
love spring vegetables. I
Yes.
love the spring color. I love to make lamb. So that's why the
Yes.
goat, I was so intrigued by the goat today.
Yeah.
I love it. Easter
Nice.
is my,
Bright
Easter.
colors,
Bright
all of that.
colors,
Yeah.
fresh food. So when
Yes.
everything is baby and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Easter. For
Totally.
sure. How about you,
How about
Emily?
you, Emily?
I mean, I'm like super cynical. I'm not like really a holidays
You're like,
person.
skip it all.
I'm not really a holidays person, but I guess I would have to say like Labor Day. Like
Labor
Labor
Day.
Day weekend is the best weekend.
Yeah.
It's still, you can get in the pool. The seasons are about to change.
Yeah.
I'm opposite from you. I'm looking forward to winter.
You're like done with the summer and ready for it to cool
summer.
down and warm up.
I like Labor Day. It's always a good, nice like transition.
Yeah. I'm kind of like you. I'm like, holidays. It's so hard for me. But the celebration that I always look forward to, we have a Friendsgiving food event for Thanksgiving every year. And it's, potluck and everybody brings stuff. And we have that here at the farm. And I've been doing that celebration for years and years and years. And so Thanksgiving is my time because it's just about food and being grateful.
True.
And that's my favorite. But I like Easter too. I found that same thing. I like the food. Anytime food can be the focus of something, that's going to be great for me. So I'm so grateful to have you both here, Emily and Chef Zelina. And I'm excited to have this wonderful meal with you guys. I am thankful for you all being here at the dinner table every week. Thank you for continuing to come out and hang out with me and to listen to all of the interesting stories that we as friends have to say at the dinner table. Give me a subscribe on YouTube if you're listening to this. And if you're interested in helping a gal out, go over to dinnertabletalks.com. At the top of the podcast, there's a little button there that says support the podcast. Push that button and just throw $1 or $2 at me because that is huge. This is how we keep these types of things going. This is how I build the infrastructure of continuing to be able to do these things, the podcast, things here on the farm. And I've got so many things coming up on the farm. My website is getting some reworking done. The class that I told you about that's tomorrow with some cooking education for meal planning and for special diets, that's going on. The investment larders are still available and I'm getting close to being done with and selling that out. I'll be at the farmers markets over the next few weeks, and come visit me on a Monday for garden healing. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Can I just say one thing? I just
Please
wanted
do.
to say thank you for inviting us out and giving me the platform to be able to talk. And I hope to see some of you at the restaurant. And I also want to say a thank you to my daughter. I didn't mention it, but she is in town helping us work the design aspect of it because that is her talent. Very talented design aspect.
I can't wait to see it.
And just the aesthetic is going to be just nothing in Corpus like it. So it's it's going to be fun. So she's taken a month out of her life and basically been here to do this. So I just want to, and again, thank you for giving us a platform to be able to do this and a wonderful dinner.
Yes.
Amazing. Worth supporting.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us at the dinner
Thank you for
table,
having
friends.
us.
We'll see you all very soon. Bye, guys.